How would you compare Tua to Trevor Lawrence?
I think they're comparable to one degree. They're both great quarterbacks. They're the best two quarterbacks in the country. But if you're trying to determine who the best one is, I don't think it's very difficult at all. Trevor Lawrence is one of the best quarterbacks in college I have ever seen. Tua is simply one of the best I have seen in a specific year. I think we got a little bit carried away last year by declaring him the LeBron James, some people did, LeBron of college football.
Yeah,
he's very good, but he's injury prone. He's very accurate, but when he gets hurt, he seems to collapse a little bit. And against the best teams last year, he did not perform very well. Trevor Lawrence, once he got going, remember he was a freshman, he just took over the game. And by the end, in the final game of the year, he dominated in a way I have never seen before.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, also 6'5", also has the arm, as an accurate, reads defenses. As his first season playing, he put a whooping on Alabama. Like, what else can you say? So, Paul, I want your take on this take, because I think what's at stake at this college season, the most interesting drama, goes beyond the quarterbacks. You know, this whole era has been Alabama unlike any other. Like, Alabama's just dominated football in the last decade plus, just dominated. And yet Clemson has been now nipping at their heels. And this season, Paul, it seems to me that the era is on the line. If Clemson wins again, then they're the favorites the perennial favorites going into the season. Then this is the Clemson era. Then they're the best, not franchise, program, et cetera, right? To that, you say what?
I say you're 100% correct. I mean, let's state the obvious. Nick Saban has won 5 of the last 10 national championships. That's unprecedented. And in that, he's lost 2 to Clemson, and one other time in the playoffs he lost to Urban Meyer in the semifinals. So should he lose again, you can manufacture the math any way you want, but that would be 3 out of 4 to Dabo Swinney. And Max, not to go into your field of boxing, but you know, if you're the champion, you get knocked out, you come back, you get knocked out again, you're probably not getting another title shot. You're done. And even though it would be foolish to write Nick Saban off as one of the great coaches, if not the greatest in college football history, Dabo Swinney in January, should he win this game again, would rule the game very easily.
Real quick, what has been the difference? Like, how has Dabo and Clemson come up in the world to the point where it's not a slam dunk that Alabama is the powerhouse?
Well, they have recruited on the same level as Alabama. They've also done something that Nick Saban has been unable to do, keep a coaching staff intact. And I know Ryan will jump here in a second, but that's very critical. Saban's staff has been a musical chairs. He's gone through coordinators almost every single year, and that took a toll last year against one of the best staffs, if not the best staff in college football, which currently Dabo Swinney has.
Paul, what factor does it play, if any, the type of regular season schedule both Trevor Lawrence have to play and Tua Tagovailoa when you look at the Heisman race? Because you're saying that Trevor Lawrence is one of the best quarterbacks you've seen of all time. But early on last year, Tua was playing like the LeBron of football. But you get later on in the season, you play Mississippi State, which is a defense that people really didn't talk about, but they were great, got after the passer, great in the secondary. Then you have Georgia in the SEC championship. You move on to Clemson later on in the college football playoff. What effect does playing that SEC schedule, playing those type of defenses and teams each and every week play in the way that we'll see these two guys coming down into the end of the Heisman race?
Well, Ryan, you played in the league, so you know what I'm talking about here. The ACC is a good league. It's gotten progressively worse. The SEC is the best league in college football. And when you think about Clemson's schedule this year, their 2 toughest games will probably be SEC schools. Texas A&M early, South Carolina late. Now, they do go to Syracuse, but the fact that I'm saying that Syracuse is one of their toughest games of the year just shows you how devalued the ACC is. Now, for Nick Saban, he plays a terrible non-conference game early on against Duke. Last year was Louisville. But after that, the schedule gets very difficult. He has to go to places like College Station, Texas. He gets LSU at home. He deals with Auburn on the road. He'll get Georgia in the SEC championship game, which used to be the de facto national game. So by the time they get to the end of the season, they are beaten up and bloodied, while Clemson, it looks like they haven't had to wash their uniform.
Paul, what is on the line this season for Jim Harbaugh?
quite a bit. With Ryan Day at Ohio State, Max, I mean, this is the opportunity to finally get that off his back. And the fact the game is in Ann Arbor makes it a must-win. Now, I run into Michigan fans all the time, as I'm sure you guys do. It seems like they're everywhere. And they don't think this is a do-or-die season for Jim Harbaugh, but expected to finish in the top 5 or 6. I frankly think they're a playoff team. And if he can't beat Ohio State this year with that game at home, I don't think there's a path that he's ever going to win, because Ryan Day is a good coach, but this is a transitional year, so you expect maybe a little bit of a drop-off. So I think there is enormous pressure on Harbaugh at Michigan, and people like us will put pressure on him. Will Michigan fans, which have not really seemed to care one bit that he has been battered and bloodied by Urban Meyer over these last 4 years.
So other than Clemson and Alabama, which are the two teams we're really big on, we understand coming into this season, it should come down to those two. Is there a team like Georgia who will start the season at number 3, or someone we aren't talking about, maybe a team out west that has an opportunity or a chance to contend for the national title? Or should we just write it in right now that it's going to be Clemson and Alabama and no one else?
I don't think you can do that, because I really believe Georgia is on a similar level. They're not quite there yet, but they're not far. And I think we've seen the last 2 years, Georgia has had a double-digit lead against Alabama 2 consecutive years and have allowed the games to get away. So Georgia is the next team. After that, is Oklahoma going to be legitimate with Jalen Hurts? I think they'll be a playoff team. I don't think they're legitimate to beat these two.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.